Hey there, welcome to MDW Live on YouTube. I am your co-host, Elizabeth Rago, and this is my co-host, Carrie Summers. How are you today?
I'm good. I am a little bit tired. We were up late last night at a speaker, which was fantastic. So I'm glad we had that opportunity, but I'm feeling it today.
Yeah, I am a little bit slower today, but it was so much fun. We got to meet up with Relief Mental Health and talk about some new strategies for depression. So that was a nice night out, and I love learning.
Yes. And I can't wait to share more about what we learned in future episodes because we have such big stuff planned for that.
Yes, absolutely. And, there's so much to be said for like new treatments when it comes to depression because a lot of people don't respond to traditional methods. And what Relief Mental Health is doing is absolutely epic. But more on that later. How are you today, though, Carrie? Let's do a body check, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm just feeling a little slow. I know that, but I think overall I'm pretty optimistic. I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about, and I have a slow day, which I'm very grateful for because we love talking about slowing down. And I feel like today's a perfect opportunity to just like slow down, get what I need to get done, get myself back to where I need to be, and maybe check a few things off my checklist.
Ugh, I love the slow day. I unfortunately don't have a slow day, but I'm living vicariously through yours. We are going to focus today on every Monday. Carrie does a post for our Mental Health Mondays post, and she asked last week and asked me anything. She just kind of put that out into the universe. So we actually got two people who messaged in and asked some questions. So we're going to talk about those questions today, and they're awesome. They're both kid oriented, but quite honestly, I think anybody can use these tips that we're going to give. But I'll start with question one. Okay. So, question one is from someone in Batavia. And I don't think this person would mind me saying Batavia. I'm not saying their name or anything, but like it's a local question. I am traveling next month with my two small kids, and I am nervous about the drive and the entire trip in general. Any tips for keeping my sanity?
I love that question.
I do too, because first of all, I've been there. I have three children, and we always take road trips. And definitely my sanity has been tested. So yeah, Carrie, tips for this mom.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's really important for moms, parents in general, even maybe grandparents who are taking their kids out, somewhere in public. You could be the best parent and be the calmest parent and try to do all the things and like bring all the best things to try to like manage the situation. But our kids unfortunately have a mind of their own. So maybe they're having a bad day that day too, right? I know I gave you the example of the other day. I took Nora to the Peppa Pig thing in Woodfield, and she just had a complete meltdown in the middle of Peppa Pig, and she was screaming and everyone was looking, and I was like, oh my gosh, how do I manage this? And then 5 minutes later somebody else's kid is having a meltdown, right? So I think it's even just like that's going to happen and we can't control it. And we automatically think that people think, oh my gosh, can that parent not control their kid? And we have to get rid of that assumption, because my first thought was like, oh my gosh, I know how that feels like, what that feels like, because I just had that happen 5 minutes ago, right? And so I think overall, just like being like more aware that our another person's first thought might not be negative. It might be like, oh my gosh, I feel that.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly, oh my gosh, I feel that. I think that the small percentage of people are like, oh, look at that kid or look at that parent. I really honestly think that at this point in time, most people are like, oh my God, I've been there, you know?
Exactly.
I love that preface of this conversation, because that's what we do. And we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace and just understand that our kids are little human beings who have wants and needs and things that they definitely don't want to do. And when we try and like move them into a space where it's just not going to be a good situation, they're going to let us know.
Yeah. I mean, as an adult, sometimes I just want to be in a bad mood. So maybe my kid just wants to be in a bad mood that day too.
For sure. Or just like not want to do something. Right. And then, so if we think about vacation, we're taking our kids out of their safe little spaces and like thrusting them into the unknown. So I feel like we've done a great job in like giving them the resources that they need. Like I've got kids who have like sensory needs. So maybe this is like a good tip, actually. A segue into a new tip is bring those, and that might seem obvious, but like bring what you can to help them go through these new experiences. So like don't be afraid to like bring a comfort item or whatever you need, and take breaks. Actually, that was one of my huge suggestions, is take breaks and lower your expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, quite honestly, like, yes, you're spending a lot of money going on vacation, but the bottom line is like, if you try and force your kids to do stuff, they're good. And I'm not saying like not go and have fun and have new experiences, but like having a jam-packed schedule, like back to back to back to back to back, like it's just not sustainable for anybody's mental health.
No, not even my own.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then we had talked about this a little bit before our chat, but you mentioned snacks.
I love snacks. I have in my car, in my glove compartment for myself, car snacks. And if I'm like, on my way into the city and it's jam packed in traffic and you're frustrated, like car snacks have saved me countless times, right? So, or like your kid is screaming and you're like, here's some pretzels, right? Like lifesaver.
So stock up on the car snacks, absolutely, for you and for the children.
Yes.
I love that. You know what you also talked about, and I kind of spoiler, I already said this, but like do a body scan. Can you
Yeah.
like, what does that mean? Like doing a body scan?
Yeah, so like on the way to who knows where, Cosley Zoo, Brookfield Zoo, wherever it is that you're going, I kind of like go through my head about, okay, what did I pack in the cooler? What did I pack in the diaper bag? What did I what do I need for this? Did I do water bottles? What should I do with this, right? So I'm going through a checklist of all the things that I possibly could have brought, hoping that I didn't forget anything. At some point I'm like, okay, like how do I feel? Like, how do I feel? How is my morning? Am I at emotionally? Where is my window of tolerance today? Is it a little bit wider? Is it a little bit shorter? So that if your kid is having a major meltdown, right, you're more aware of yourself and where you're at emotionally so that you know how to, like, where you're at when you have to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a little bit more frustrated that day, then your window of tolerance is going to be a little bit shorter. But I think that's something to be aware of. Like, okay, my kid is screaming. I did a check-in. Like, of course, I'm overwhelmed right now, but I already knew that I was overwhelmed. So what do I want to do with that?
So
And then
then in reality, then would that be like, okay, well, maybe we won't spend as much time at the zoo?
exactly. Or giving yourself a little bit of grace if you realize that you didn't handle a situation the way that you thought that you would have.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I do like, there's so much to be said for like recognizing how your body feels. And then it just guides you a little bit better in life. And it's definitely, it takes time and like practice.
Of course.
Um, I do have kind of something that I do personally. We do like a 24-hour road trip when we go on vacation. And we've only been doing it for about 5 years. But we drive all the way down to Florida. And when I have to do the driving, or when I'm not, when I'm a passenger, I like equip myself with like a little lotion, a cuticle oil and then like an essential oil. So I'll do like a massage, like a little hand massage, and just try to like do little pressure points. And then I'll like massage my cuticles, almost like a little self-care routine while we're driving. And this is silly because I'm just a silly person, but like I'll have, this is a stress relief, like essential oil. So what I'll do is if someone's feeling crabby, I like wave this essential oil into like the like heat vent or the AC vent, and then that goes through the car. And then I'm hoping it's probably not doing anything, but I'm hoping that maybe someone will feel like refreshed or calm because they've inhaled the essential oil.
Oh, it is using one of your five senses.
Right. And like when you're in the car, it's like summertime and there's the AC, like you start to get like that car funk smell where like just like collectively the group doesn't smell great.
Yes.
So I feel like a little refreshing or like mint, like I'll do like a little mint essential oil and then it'll smell better. So I know that's kind of silly, but it's like a moment of levity also. Because everyone's always like, oh, mom's, trying to calm us down with her essential oils again. So, um, what else? I think that was a really valid question.
Of
Um,
course.
and those are like just some easy, good tips. And we're both moms, right? We've experienced the meltdowns and the car rides and the trips that have gone awry, but just giving yourself a little bit of grace and being patient with yourself during this process is key.
Of course. Yep.
Um, so our second question is for, maybe some older kiddos. I have a child who is going through the early stages of puberty and she's feeling down on herself. How do I encourage her and acknowledge how she's feeling without dismissing that what she's feeling is probably hormones? Carrie.
Is this one for me?
Yeah. And you know what? You have such a great, I mean, you work a lot with adolescents,
I do.
and I think that what makes you really unique in your approach is that you treat every client the same, right?
I try.
And well, you treat them the same in that what validating their experience, taking them for who they are. But I love your approach when you talk about how you serve your adolescent clients. So
Yeah.
tell me more.
Well, all right. Well, we go through three major hormonal shifts in our life, right? So onset of puberty, if we choose to have a baby, postpartum, we have postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. There's a lot of mood changes that happen after having a baby. And then menopause and so as a perinatal specialist, right? I'm not going to tell a new mom, like, hey, what you're feeling, right, is only hormones. That's so invalidating. And someone who's going through menopause, you're not going to be like, it's just hormones, like, whatever. So, why do we do that for our adolescent population? Where it's like, it's only hormones. It doesn't matter if it's just hormones, those emotions are real and the thoughts behind the emotions are real. So, we need to treat it as such.
I love that. And how true. And you know what? I do have to say I'm guilty of that a little bit with my own because I now have 3 teenagers and I am guilty of being like, oh, well, it's probably hormones. And that's not the best approach. So let's just say, your sweet little teenager or kid going through, just starting to get into those adolescence years, they come to you and they're just upset and they can't identify why. Like, I love to prepare people with like, here's what you could say. It's like
Yeah.
preparing yourself for that moment.
I think it's important just to like let your kid know that you're a safe space to go to, right? And to validate their emotions, not necessarily validate their hormones. Like, let's just toss the hormone thing out the window, right? Because who cares if it's hormones? They're having anxiety, they're having a depression. But we might be invalidating them by saying it's just hormones. Well, maybe they're getting bullied at school. but they haven't told you, and you right off the bat are like, it's just hormones. But your kid, maybe it's a test that they have, or maybe it's they're not getting along with their friend group. Like that's not just hormones.
Mhm.
Hormones might be exacerbating that, but that's like a very external factor that a lot of kids go through at that age, regardless. I mean, we've all been in middle school. It's the wild, wild west. It is.
Indeed. Yeah, it totally is. And, just having two daughters, because this person who wrote in, it was specifically about her daughter. My daughters always seem to get the most like upset and a feeling of like large emotions right before bed. And I actually remember this just being an adolescent back then. I remember at night I would always be like super upset. And I would come into my parents' bedroom and be like crying and saying like I have no friends. And it's like I felt so confused and I couldn't identify why. And so even with my girls, like at night, they want to like talk or they're upset. So what I what I've been suggesting to them is like making sure their needs are met first. So talking to them about, it's the end of the day and we are just as human beings tired at the end of the day. So maybe like going to bed a little bit earlier or sometimes kids are just like my kids like to snack throughout the day. I mean, I don't know what kid doesn't, but like have they had a good solid meal that day? So going downstairs and making sure, that their bellies are full, just kind of like meeting those basic needs. And then maybe during that little snack time before bed is connecting with them and seeing, is something bothering you? Was there a trigger that made you feel this way? You know, that's kind of just what I've done with my adolescents.
Which I think is great. And like I said, people go to therapy postpartum, right? People go to therapy when they're going through menopause. Like it's okay to say, I'm not entirely sure how to handle this, but I know that my kid needs support. It's okay to get them a therapist. And I think that even normalizes therapy, it normalizes mental health. It allows them the opportunity to maybe learn skills to communicate or understand their emotions a little bit better. It doesn't have to be a forever thing. Like your kid might be 11 doesn't necessarily mean that they have to go to therapy for the rest of their lives. But what about like just through that one stage? Just so
Yeah.
that they can feel like that you're getting them all the support. Because again, the emotions and the thoughts behind the emotions are real. And maybe they just need a little bit of help exploring that or coping skills along the way.
And there's nothing wrong with just getting some more tools in your tool belt when it comes to coping skills, especially at an early age. That's so helpful just in every area of the life. So I'm glad you suggested that, just having that sounding board and then I feel like then your kids know you're willing to invest in them.
Mhm.
Maybe if they don't even identify that right now, then they know, okay, you're taking me seriously. You're not just brushing me off. Yeah, I really, really love that. Well, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
talking us through these two questions. I'm excited that, people are starting to reach out. Carrie is such an amazing resource that we have now. And she's available to answer questions all the time.
For
So
sure. They can either DM me or DM you. Like it doesn't have to just be on a Monday where I'm asking, ask me anything. Like we are here as a resource all the time.
yes. And, you know, absolutely feel free to reach out to Carrie directly too, or through MDW's social handles or email. So, yeah, till next time, we've got great things coming up, some pop ups in the future where we can get together in person. But more on that later. And just have a great rest of the week. Thank you, Carrie, for being here with me every week.
Thank you for having me.
All right, friend, I will see you later.
All right, bye.